Hello, welcome back to Millennial Secrets. My name is Terrell. Please follow here. So many of you listen to this, but you're not following. So please give this a follow. One of the aims of season 2 is to have more diversity on the show, more inclusion, because I believe that everyone's story counts. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about what it's like to date as a black woman, aren't we, Hannah?
Yes.
I met you about 10 minutes ago. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this. Do you just want to give a bit of an introduction and just say like how old you are and what you do and that kind of thing, and then we'll jump into things.
So I'm 31 and I'm single.
Okay.
So that's my overview.
And what has your dating life been like at the moment? Like what's happening?
At the moment, I'm kind of taking a break because it's crazy. It's really crazy out there. So even I went out on Saturday and I had a guy tell me that he has 2 kids and a baby on the way, and he still wanted to. So it's not good out there.
Right. Well, this might kind of agree with what you're saying. So some of this statistics I'm going to read out might shock you, might not. Just want to get your initial reaction. So 57% of black women feel like they have to work harder to be seen as attractive in dating apps. Straight white men are 4 times more likely to message a white woman than a black woman with exactly the same like statistics. So say for example, like you both have a good career, you're both the same age, a white guy is 4 times more likely to message a white girl over that. And black women receive the fewest amount of swipes of all like everyone on the dating apps. Like is that a surprise at all or not really?
I feel like it's not a surprise just because I think there are a lot of black women who date multiracial, whereas there's not so many white men or white people in general who date multiracial.
Yeah.
So no, not
No,
really.
it's not. No. And what's your experience been like? Like you're a beautiful woman, so like, do you get rejected at all, or like?
Yeah, everybody gets rejected. So I've been rejected a couple of times, but not too much.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie.
No,
I'm
but
not trying to be big
No,
headed or
that's
anything.
fine. What apps are you currently on at the moment?
I actually just deleted Hinge, but I've
All of them, right?
I've always used apps. So I've used Tinder, Bumble, Hinge. I was on OkCupid like way back in the day. So yeah, I've been on quite a few of them. But I think like me being a light-skinned woman is a bit more different because even though I can believe those statistics,
I'm glad
I think
you
it's
addressed
like
that. I was going to say, yeah.
I think it's like darker skinned women are obviously seen quite differently, and like me, I love a beautiful dark skinned woman. Like that's the rest of my family. Like everybody else is dark skinned. So to me, I don't see what these other people are seeing in the reasons that they wouldn't match with somebody who's darker skinned, but it doesn't surprise me because of the world we live in.
What was it like for you to grow up and have like everyone else? Are they like my skin tone or darker or lighter?
They're like probably a little bit lighter.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So what was it like for you to be the one that was like the lightest out of all of them? Like, do you feel like you had different opportunities? Do you think that people like maybe said you were the pretty one?
Definitely.
Okay.
I'll take a good example. My sister is only 5 years younger than me, so we went to the same primary school, same secondary school. Like we were in the same situations a lot, and same doctors as well. I went to the doctors and said, "Oh, like I have a problem," and it took her for the same problem. I think it took them 6 years, and it took me like a couple of weeks. And I'm not necessarily saying that that's the reason that our skin color is the reason why, but it is a very big coincidence. Like we live in the same house, like have the same experiences, and then it took me so much quicker to get help with the problem that I was having than her. So
Wow.
yeah, I think it's funny.
And then I can tell you've got so much to say. This is going to be so good. With your friends, like, do you have any like dark-skinned like female friends? Have you noticed that maybe you're out at a bar or something and you're the one who gets picked over them, or?
Yeah, but I think that's probably because my friend is gay. So
No, but I was talking about your friends that aren't. Like, do you have any dark-skinned straight female friends?
Yes,
Okay.
I do. But sorry, I had to think about that.
Yeah,
But I
no,
do.
it's
I think, to be fair, like when I've been out with some of them, it's just we're kind of in our own world.
Yeah.
So I can
You're not
be quite,
noticing what's happening.
yeah, I
Right.
can be quite aggressive to men sometimes. Like when they approach us, I'm like, please leave us alone. Like,
Yep.
we're trying to have a good time. So Yeah.
Okay. One of the things on TikTok that a lot of black women are saying is that they feel invisible, like in the dating world. Can you relate to that at all?
Honestly, no, but I think that's just because, like, men are a bit easy. Like, it's difficult to build relationships 100%. Like, I feel like there's a lot of men who don't want to build the relationship. They just want to have a good time. They want to have fun, and they don't want the responsibility of it. But I wouldn't say invisible. I just feel like maybe undervalued is a better word for me, per se.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing that's come up is about being fetishized. So like loads of women have said if there's like someone that isn't black and they're like, oh, you're going to be my first black fuck, you're going to be my first black woman that I take home, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced anything like that?
My whole life.
Talk about
like
it.
literally my whole life. I'd say like probably when I was like 19, that's probably when it really started. I mean, obviously as a teenager, you get sexual harassment anyway. So I've been sexually harassed since I was bloody 13 or something. So that's always a thing. I feel like that's the same for most girls. Like if you're wearing a school uniform, we didn't wear school uniforms, but you know,
you're still being sexually harassed at that age.
But I'd say like, wait, what was the question again?
So, no, that's okay. So do you feel like you've been fetishized by
yeah.
So in what way?
So yeah, I remember when I was at uni, I was out at the Freshers Week and there was like some guy who was like, I've never kissed a black girl before. And I was like, okay, we're not some rare species that...
Or animals.
Yeah, like we don't exist in I don't know, it's a bit weird. But that's definitely happened. Like, oh, I like my girls thick and round and it's very much like about the body type or the kinds of things they think you are going to have or the things they think you're going to provide because of a stereotype. So yeah, I've definitely been through fetishization.
So by the way, there's a fly in the studio. So if you see us swatting and that sort of stuff, that's why. When you get told, like, you know, I've never been with a black girl before, I've never had this experience, how does that make you feel?
It just turns me off. It's like, I don't really know why you would think it's a turn on for me to hear that. Like, I'm not William the Conqueror. I'm not trying to conquer this. Like, that's not for me. If especially at this age, I think if that's the first time you've ever been with a black person, I'm skeptical of you because, like, why? Like, if you've lived in London for a really long time, like, how is it that you've never been with a black person? We're everywhere.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's a bit weird to me.
Have you ever had because there's something else I want to touch on after this, but have you ever had the experience where you're with a white guy, for example, and it's going really well, but they're like, yeah, but I wouldn't be able to bring you home, or because, you know, my nan wouldn't like you, or my mum would have some sort of like...
No, what it is my dad is mixed race and my mum's black, and my sister is actually married to a white guy.
Right.
So we've got a quite diverse, I say diverse, but it's like diverse in black and white family. So I don't think they'd feel some kind of way if I brought home a white man.
But what have you ever had the experience with a white guy saying to you, oh, you know, we can hang out, but like it'll be a different story if I brought you home?
I don't date white men.
Okay, that's another interesting. So why don't you date white guys?
What if I have a child with a white man and then my child turns out like Prince Harry's children? Like,
oh, what do you mean, like ridiculed and that sort of thing?
No, like really light skin, like they like white passing.
Okay.
So, and I know for me, like I'm, like I said before, like I'm the lightest in my family. Yeah. So I've always had this thing of people thinking I was mixed or thinking I've got a white parent. Yeah. And that people treat you differently. And seeing people treat me the way they treat me and then seeing the way they treat my sister, I'm like, I don't ever want them to experience that. I want them to have like a genuine, I say genuine, but like, what do I mean? I mean, like, I just want black children.
Right, okay. No, that's really, really interesting. Like, I didn't think this conversation was going to take that turn, but let's go for it. So if you had a child and they turned out to be your complexion, so your skin colour, how would that make you feel?
I'd be okay with it. I think I'd be okay with it because it's like me, you know. But I think I kind of want their blackness to be more what's the word?
More prevalent. So like you want them to have like the nose, the lips,
to
that
not
sort of
be
thing.
questioned about their blackness, really.
Okay.
So I think that's what I'm like, I don't really want their blackness to be questioned or to be, because people call me exotic and like, I'm like, I'm just like a quarter white, but because of the color of my skin, I'm not seen as that by, I'd say like black people know I'm black, but then if you're not, then they're going to be like, oh, you're so exotic, or you come from wherever, and
Do you like the color of your skin?
I do.
Yeah,
I didn't used to.
Oh, really?
I didn't used to.
Why didn't you used to? Is it because your family were all darker? Or?
Yeah, it's because my family were all darker, but then I'm lighter, and I mean, family issues, and I have a white grandma. And so I'd say like, there's a lot of like, because colorism is so prevalent, and like even within families.
Is your family Caribbean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, I was definitely favoured as a kid. And growing up, I was like, oh, I felt so uncomfortable, but didn't know the reason why. And now I understand, oh, it's because of colorism. Like, I felt not necessarily, I was treated differently by certain people in my family, and I didn't like that. So it made me feel like, oh, I feel really uncomfortable in my own self. But now I understand, oh, it's because colorism exists, and because that's why they treat me that way, because they're low-key racist. Yeah, unfortunately.
I can relate to that. Like, so there's 6 grandchildren in my family, and I'm the only one that's fully black. So the other 5 are all mixed race, including my brother. And one of my cousins had a baby, and that baby has blonde hair and green eyes.
Oh, okay.
And my nan was like, oh, she's got blonde hair and green eyes. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it was some sort of like prize. Like, it was like, what, you know, would you felt the same way if it was my colour and with my eyes? So it sounds like you've gone through that as well.
Yeah, but the opposite way of like, because I've seen it with my family. It's like, ooh, that makes me uncomfortable to now know that's the reason that you're treating people differently. Like, that's not really okay. And then I don't mean to like, oh, the plight of a light-skinned girl. I don't mean to do that or anything, but it is like, it is a bit of a like inner turmoil to say, to see that kind of happening and being like, I'm being treated differently from the rest of my family. Like, what's going on? So, yeah.
This is so interesting. And then the whole thing about like the body stuff you said with white guys, they're like, do you think a lot of that comes from porn? Like, they think that you're just going to dominate them and you know?
Yeah, I definitely think porn probably plays a really big part of that. I think also like the kind of black women that they see on TV. So like, I guess like rappers, and I guess like
Megan Thee Stallion, Nicki Minaj, people like that.
I do like these people.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
of course.
It's they put on a performance, and that's the thing, is that's a performance. This is real life. So we're not all going to be this, I don't know, dominatrix X kind of style woman, like who's going to dominate you and whatever. We're not all going to have like the biggest BBL. It's so unrealistic. So yeah, I would say like porn is probably a big part to play in it. Yeah.
Do you feel pressure at all though to be like those women at all?
I'm going to say something really...
Go for it. This is Millennial
Secrets. I already
Secrets.
have a big butt, so I don't need to.
But then that adds to it then, doesn't it? Because if you're already like that and you get approached, like, have you ever... So you've been approached and they're like, you know...
Yeah. They'll be like, oh, you're so thick. Oh, your butt... I don't know what these men say. Just, you know.
Does anyone say anything like this on the apps? Like, do they say...
Yeah, I literally had... I had somebody say... oh, I want to cover your butt in Nutella spread. And I was like, what? Like, what does that even mean? So, or like, oh, I really like a thickums. And it's like...
Are these white guys saying this, or black as well?
Both.
Or like Asian, or...
Anyone. I've had it from all races. But I think it's like a part of the kind of sexualization of women. Like, you know, on these apps, that's not necessarily what everybody's looking for. We're not all looking for a hookup, but you go on the apps and a lot of men kind of are. So then they'll immediately sexualize you, and that's like the biggest turn off for me anyway. And it's like, the first time you've mentioned something about my body, not, oh, hey, beautiful, how are you? That's like a friendly compliment, saying, you know, I think you're beautiful, but also I'm asking you about yourself. But sexualizing me on the first go is like a big no. So
with the guys that you are dating, so you're just dating, is it black and mixed race or just black?
just black and mixed race. I date whoever I feel a connection to. So I'm not really opposed, but my preference is black men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you go for as dark as possible just because of the thing with the child, or?
I just go for, again, like just whoever I feel a connection with. Like if we have a conversation and I'm feeling like a good kind of way about you, then that's it. So while I have like ideas of what I want for like a kid, it's not super firm because it's just a preference, you know. It's not like, oh, I'd never date this kind of person, I never date that. It's just, if love happens, but ideally I'd like to have black babies.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair enough. It's your life. What has been your worst experience on a date?
Ooh, worst experience. I'd say probably I went on a date a couple of years ago, and we matched on Hinge or something, and we hadn't really spoken too much, but I was like, oh, it's okay, like we'll get to know each other. He was telling me that he ran a cult. He did shrooms every day for like a year and a half. His ex-girlfriend and him had threesomes, and then she left him for the other girl. He told me I was a witch. And he told me he was a current teacher. And I was like, interesting.
Yeah. And this was on the date. What was it like?
We just went for drinks in a Simmons, and he didn't pay. Oh, this was the thing
He
as
didn't
well.
pay
It
at
was like,
Simmons, and Simmons is cheap.
it was 2 for 1, and he bought 2 drinks for himself, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll just buy my own 2 drinks then.
What an arsehole.
And then, yeah, and that was kind of the end of the date. So, yeah, he was a crazy person.
And what's the best date that you've been on?
The best date? I don't know if it's like the best date, but like that's a tough question, you know. I don't really have one.
Yeah, we can come back to it. The whole thing, though, is about like black women and the dating thing, and I've really found this interesting, like the whole invisible thing, because you don't feel invisible. You feel like you've had opportunities that maybe like your siblings haven't or other girls haven't. Do you understand like why there's so many, especially dark-skinned women say, and this is a lot of this is in America, saying they don't have the opportunities, they don't have the like.
Definitely, because well, especially in America, like the way people are treated there, like black people are treated there, is crazy to me. I feel like I live in a bubble. I live in London, so it's very much of a different situation, I think, because if you're a non-person of color, like you're gonna be surrounded by people of color, like, and if you've grown up here, especially, like you're probably not gonna have too much of a preference of like what race you date or whatever. But I'd say, to be fair, like the reason that I don't feel invisible is because I've been like overly sexualized. So it's kind of like the other side of the coin. So it's like, while I can understand people feel invisible and aren't building relationships, or like people will just pass them by and look at their lighter skinned friend, for example, like me, I'm over sexualized, and it's like.
Do you feel like you're over sexualized every single day?
More time, yeah. Like honestly, just walking here, the amount of cars stopping and just like staring, and it's like, really? I'm actually just wearing cargos and a top, and it's hot outside. Like, it's not that serious. So yeah,
I think it's interesting though, because I think about the generation above us, so like Gen X, a lot of those women, not all of the women in that generation, I just want to make that clear, would say, you know, I actually quite like it when a builder says something. I actually quite like it when somebody honks their thing. Why are all these young girls complaining that they're getting all of this attention, because it clearly means they're attractive? Like, what would you say to a woman that says that?
I'd say getting that from the time that you're like 12 or 13 and it consistently happening is just not very nice. And then it's also like, maybe like that's how you meet your husband, but you do hear these stories of like, oh, you know, he pestered me for 6 months. That's scary.
Yeah.
That's scary. If he pestered you for 6 months and then you finally gave in, like, that's not really a choice that you had. You kind of had to do that. Otherwise, this man wasn't going to leave you alone for your own safety or like sake of peace of mind. So for me, I just think it's just not very nice. And if you want to be polite and approach, that's fine. But they're not polite. It's like honking a horn or being like, I don't know, can I get your number? Not even like...
Did that happen today, for example?
I don't think anybody honked, but there were lots of like rolling down the window and like staring out the window.
And that doesn't make you feel attractive. It makes you feel harassed.
Yeah, especially like
Go on, say
where
it.
we're filming just around the corner.
We're in King's Cross, by the way.
Yeah, Market Road used to be where loads of prostitutes were.
Yeah,
so,
it was famous for that. This area was famous for prostitutes. Yeah,
that happening on that kind of road just doesn't feel good. And I've walked along that road before when I was in school, like on my way to school or something, and it was like that happened to me at like 7 a.m. Somebody literally stopped their car. So it's like, oh, you think I'm a prostitute? And I was like 15 or 16, like, what?
Well, let me tell you, don't look a prostitute.
No, I know, but it's like, you know, like you're seeing a woman, you're not even really looking at her.
Yeah.
You just think that she's a sex worker because essentially she's an object for you. So, yeah.
And does that, I mean, not in your current workplace, but like, has that ever happened at work before?
I'll tell you a funny story. It didn't happen at work, but it did happen with somebody who I worked with. I was with my dad and I got out the car to just like go and do some shopping or whatever. Yeah. 2 cars behind me, somebody in a van was beeping their horn at me and was like, oh, can I get your number? Can I get your number? And this has the same logo that I work for. Called up my dad and I was like, this guy, da-da-da. Anyway, a couple of weeks later, I saw him in my workplace because obviously it's the same, he works for the same company as me. And then had my dad go and give him a very stern word because my dad also worked in the same company. How old were you at this time? It was like 2019, so quite recent.
Oh, recently? Yeah. So 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, it was quite recent. So, but I'd say like in that situation, it's like we can find out where you work. Like for you, somebody who's wearing the labels of the brand that you work for, it's not a good idea to be approaching women like that. Like nobody really likes that. If you want to stop, if you're going to miss me, you're going to miss me. Like that's, it's obviously not meant to be, but like beeping your horn and shouting, can I get your number? Like you haven't asked my name. I don't know who you are. You're actually just a stranger. Like it's not a very nice way to approach somebody. Like just common decency would be nice. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're competing against white women? Because that's what this research shows, that a lot of black women feel like they're competing against not just white women who seem to get like the majority of these swipes on these apps, but other women as well. Do you feel like that? Or do you feel like because maybe somebody would say you were racially ambiguous, even though I can see that you're black, but you know, black knows black, so I can tell.
Yeah.
But do you ever think that you are?
I think the type of people I go for typically don't date white women. So I think no for me, but I can understand because there are a lot of people who would, for example, like have a situationship with a black woman, but then get married to a white woman.
And that's what they were saying. Yeah. It's the whole thing of like, you know, we can go out in private, we can do our own thing, but when I'm really ready to settle down with someone, I'm going to go with the white girl.
Yeah. They're going to go for the ones that they think, and I think it's subconscious because I don't think they necessarily intentionally do. I think it's like the one who's going to give me a higher status. That's what I kind of think it might be. Like an unconscious kind of way.
Yeah. And the black guys that you're seeing at the moment, like they treat you like you're a queen, or is that what's going on? Or...
No, if that was the case, I wouldn't be single.
Okay, go on. Tell us about these men.
I don't want to air anybody out, but like
don't say their name, it's fine.
The last person I dated didn't really do anything. Just I planned all the dates. I decided when we should meet up. I kind of said, oh, like, what you doing this day? What you doing that day? Like, do you want to hang out? I am the one that waited an hour, half an hour on the dates for him to show up.
You waited an hour for someone to show up?
Yeah. But I've also been late, so I can't fault him too much because...
Have you been an hour late before?
Yeah, I actually have.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I actually have. But that's like usually with people I already know.
Yeah.
So I try my hardest to be there on time for the first date, but sometimes things don't happen like that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'd say that was just kind of a very much situation where I was doing the leading, and I'm happy to do that sometimes, but I just don't want to have to do it all the time, you know, like definitely not getting treated like a queen at all.
So what's happening then? Like you've got the guys that are black or mixed race, but preference for like darker. They agree with you that they also want to be with someone who's black as well. But what do you think? People just can't communicate, or?
I think it's that, and I think there's a big fear of commitment. I think like a lot of men are probably scared that like, oh, when you say somebody's your girlfriend, it's super serious. But you can just say, if you are together, you really like each other, decide it doesn't work out, you can just leave. You don't have to be like, oh my God, we're in this forever now. Like, it doesn't have to be that serious. Like, just trying to build a relationship, trying to build something with somebody does take work, takes communication, but like, you have to start somewhere. Otherwise, you're just going to be single the rest of your life. So you can't be in a situationship forever, you know?
Yeah.
So
How long has your longest situationship been?
probably like 6 to 8 months.
But
probably.
what is your because I always think a situationship is where it's kind of that grey area between you're not fully together, but you're kind of exclusive.
Yeah.
But you're not like...
You're not super serious,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's like that stage just before you should be in a relationship where it's like you're dating, you know you like each other, and then it's that kind of awkward bit where nobody's asked the other to, oh, will you be my girlfriend? But I'd say that, yeah, that's it. That's kind of it. I think like liking each other is the key part of a situationship. And then it not moving anywhere is like one person has a resistance against why they don't want it to be something more.
And you're single by choice.
Well,
Come on, look at the
really
camera. Come on, of course you're
choice?
single by choice. What is the issue at the moment with men? Like, you live in London. What is the issue with London men?
I actually read a study. Well, I didn't read it. I saw a video. I won't lie.
Yeah, it's fine.
I
Go
saw
for
a
it.
video the other day that was like, more men are right-wing leaning than women are. And a lot more women are more educated. And so, like, obviously going to university, you learn about lots of different things and whatever. And that's like kind of the first time it's happened in a really long time that the genders have like different ideologies and like voting.
Well, especially in
ways.
America, black women are the most highly educated sector of all society. Like, and I think that's amazing. Like, that's the biggest growing thing, like black women. But what, you think it's a political thing?
For me, 100%, because it's like I will have views about stuff like, for example, we mentioned Megan Thee Stallion earlier. So there's a lot of men who will be like, oh, my favorite rapper is Megan Thee Stallion. They'll be like, free Tory. As soon as they say that, it's done for me, because it's like you're supporting somebody who you probably didn't listen to before all of this. You're just supporting him because you feel like he's been downtrodden by the system and the system hates black men. And I don't disagree. The system hates black people, period.
Yeah.
And especially black men. But he shot somebody in the foot.
Allegedly. Just to cover you, just in case they sue us.
Well, no, because he's in prison, so...
I said allegedly.
He's in prison, so can't come for me.
But something like that. So, for example, if someone has... Like, so for example, like, have you ever dated someone who said, for example, you know, I support the Tories, or I am a Donald Trump supporter, or...
Never in my life.
No.
Never in my life.
What are the political things that would mean that you don't want to see them again?
If they're a Tory, if they don't have respect for like migrants, refugees, because like...
Has that happened before where someone said, like, I don't respect this, or I don't respect...
No, but there are a lot of people who like say things who are like, oh, you know, like, because they come and they take our jobs, and it's like, what are you talking about? So they don't necessarily mean that they dislike a whole swathe of people. Like, it's just that they get this rhetoric in their head. And like, for me, it's like, I'm very uncompromising on my feminist values. And I don't mean just like, I mean like for all women of
any race,
any whatever, like any sexuality, like we all need to be equal. We all should be equal. And I think a lot of people, men, are kind of threatened by that sometimes, because it's like, you know, we can talk about like sexual assault and whatever, and they'll be like, well, you know, sometimes it's the way a woman dresses, and it's like, can we actually be serious now? Or, for example, like a big one for me at the moment is like Palestine. Like, if I hear that people are Israel supporters, then I just kind of come out with a rant and like loads of... Oh yeah, it's happened before. Like, I've been out and just like speaking to people, and they're like, oh, like, why should I care about Palestine? And I'm like, but you call yourself a man of God, but you don't care about the place where Jesus was born. Like, what? Doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, there are probably quite a few other things that I'd say are big uncompromises. I wouldn't compromise on. So like LGBT rights, like if you don't like queer people, then you're not my kind of person. So I just think I like people who respect other people.
You need to be someone who's liberal, right?
Yeah, I just need to be with somebody who like cares about people in general. Like, cool, like there are people who do bad things, but as a people, like as human race, like we should all care about each other. We should support each other, and that's what I ideally want in somebody.
And based on your dating experience, have you found that a lot of men out there at the moment that you're dating are kind of leaning the other way?
Yeah, they like to, like put certain people down because of the kinds of things that they do. So for example, like sex workers, they'll be like, oh, like I could never have a girl who's on OnlyFans, like that kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah, but everybody's their own person. Like they can do whatever they want with their body.
Would you date a guy that was on OnlyFans?
Yeah.
Would you?
If he was getting money, yeah,
Really?
why not?
If you were with a guy who was having a wank on OnlyFans.
A wank? I don't know about a wank.
But it's not just feet anymore. Like
Yeah,
it could be it could be anything. Or if he was getting naked and like.
You know what? Like, I watch porn, so yeah, why not?
So you can separate it as long as what if someone else was involved?
Well,
if there was another woman involved, would you be okay with that?
It depends on like the kind of relationship we had. Like if we were like in a polyamorous kind of relationship, then it'd be fine.
Would you be in a polyamorous relationship?
Yeah.
Okay, this is a whole other topic.
I kind of have been, but I don't really want to go into that.
No, come on, please.
No.
One thing I'll say, though, is that polyamorous relationships are really on the rise, especially with straight couples, because, I mean, I don't know why that's happening. So many people are saying, look, we're polyamorous. Do you think it's possible to be in love with more than one person at the same time?
Oh, definitely. You can feel loved by other people at the same time. I think it's a bit funny that, like, we're one of the only species that partakes in monogamy.
Are you a Scorpio?
No.
Sorry, I'm really into... Oh, Capricorn, January.
December.
Oh, December.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm really into that. So I was just trying to like, she seems like such a Scorpio. So you've been in polyamorous relationships before?
I've been in one.
Okay.
I've been in one.
And it didn't work out?
Yeah, but that was just because of the situation I was in. I was basically dating two people at once. And they knew because I told them.
Yeah.
But it didn't work out because it didn't.
But in America, it's so common to date like 3-4 people at the same time. I think in England, it's like if someone says they're dating multiple people at the same time, they're viewed as like a slut or a bit trashy and that sort of stuff. But it's something that's really catching on here.
I think it's good to explore your options. Like, it's the trenches out here anyway, so you may as well just go and date a couple of people. If you're not in a serious relationship, if you're at that point where you're in a situationship, like, but this person isn't going to take you seriously, go and have a date, like, with somebody else. See what else you're missing. Like, go and see the sea. There's so many fish in the sea, so go and explore.
God, this has been so great. To summarise, I feel like I'm going to get you back on a panel or something because you've been so good. To summarise, like, for your experience dating as a black woman, if there's a black woman listening to this, what would you say to her about dating?
Just be yourself. Don't try and like force it, because when it comes, it comes. Hasn't come for me yet, but
it will.
We all kind of hope it does. And don't compromise yourself in the things that you believe, because that's not going to work out for you in the end. And you just have to be true to yourself and firm in your beliefs. That's what I think.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Hannah. I've really enjoyed this. I hope you did too.
I did.
Guys, please give Hannah some love. Do you have an Instagram or anything?
Yeah, I have
follow?
St. Genie, and then I've got TikTok, Miss Endive. So if you follow me on there,
go
that'd
for
be
it.
good.
Guys, I'm Terrell. Follow me here, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much.